Lisa stood outside the Italian restaurant, feeling like her entire world was falling apart. Her phone screen glowed in the evening darkness, showing the text message she'd read at least 20 times in the last 10 minutes. Sorry, can't make it. Something came up. Good luck with your family. That was it. That was all her boyfriend of 6 months could manage to say, before ditching her on the most important night of the year. She looked down at her dress, a beautiful navy blue number she'd spent way too much money on. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was flawless. Everything was ready except for the one thing that mattered most: she had no date. And in about 15 minutes, she'd have to walk through those restaurant doors and face her entire family alone. The worst part? She'd been talking about this relationship for months. Every phone call with her mom, every family group chat, every casual conversation, she'd mentioned him. She'd made it sound like things were serious, like he was the one. Like, finally, after years of failed relationships and family disappointment, she had her life together. Her older sister was getting engaged tonight, and Lisa was supposed to show up with proof that she wasn't the mess everyone thought she was. She pressed her back against the brick wall of the building, trying to steady her breathing. The cool autumn air bit at her bare arms, but she barely noticed. Her mind was racing through possibilities. She could fake being sick, but her mom would never believe that. She could say he got into an accident, but that felt wrong to joke about. She could just tell the truth. But the thought of her sister's smug smile and her aunt's pitying looks made her stomach turn. A sleek black car pulled up to the curb right in front of her, and a man stepped out. Lisa's eyes widened slightly. He was tall, probably in his early 30s, wearing a perfectly tailored dark suit that probably cost more than her rent. His dark hair was styled neatly, and even from a few feet away she could tell he carried himself with the kind of confidence that came from success. He handed his keys to the valet with barely a glance and started walking toward the restaurant entrance. Something inside Lisa snapped. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was the 3 glasses of wine she'd had while getting ready to calm her nerves. Maybe it was just pure panic. Whatever it was, she found herself pushing off the wall and rushing toward him. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice shakier than she wanted it to be. The man stopped and turned toward her, his expression polite but curious. Up close, he was even more intimidating. His eyes were a striking shade of gray, and they studied her with an intensity that made her almost lose her nerve. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice smooth and professional. Lisa opened her mouth, then closed it. What was she doing? This was insane. She was about to ask a complete stranger to pretend to be her boyfriend. This wasn't a movie. This was real life, and normal people didn't do things like this. But then her phone buzzed with a text from her sister. "Where are you? Everyone's asking about your mysterious boyfriend. Can't wait to finally meet him." The words hit her like a punch to the gut. She looked back up at the stranger, and before she could talk herself out of it, the words tumbled out of her mouth. "I know this is going to sound absolutely crazy, and I completely understand if you say no or think I'm insane, but I need to ask you for the strangest favor anyone has probably ever asked you." She was talking too fast, barely breathing between words. "My sister's engagement party is in there right now, and my boyfriend just canceled on me, and I've been telling my entire family about him for months, and they're all expecting to meet him, and I can't walk in there alone." The man's eyebrows raised slightly, but his expression remained neutral. He didn't walk away, which Lisa took as a good sign. "I need someone to pretend to be my boyfriend," she continued, the words now flowing like a dam had broken. "Just for tonight. Just for a few hours. You wouldn't have to do much, just stand there, maybe smile, answer some basic questions. I know it sounds ridiculous, and I know I look desperate because I am desperate, but please, I'm begging you." There was a long moment of silence. The man crossed his arms and tilted his head slightly, studying her face like she was a puzzle he was trying to solve. Lisa felt her cheeks burning with embarrassment. She was about to apologize and run away when he finally spoke. "Why me?" The question caught her off guard. "What? Out of everyone on this street, why did you choose to ask me?" Lisa blinked. She hadn't really thought about it. You were just there? And you look... you're dressed nicely, and you seem like the kind of person my family would be impressed by, and..." She stopped herself, realizing how shallow that sounded. "I'm sorry. This was a terrible idea. Please forget I said anything." She started to turn away, but his voice stopped her. "What's the favor worth to you?" Lisa spun back around. "What?" The corner of his mouth lifted in what might have been the hint of a smile. If I agree to this absurd request, what do I get in return? Her heart jumped. He was actually considering it. I don't have much money, but I could pay you something. Maybe $100? 200? He shook his head. I don't need money. Then what do you want? The man was quiet for a moment, his gray eyes still fixed on her face. A favor. Someday when I need something, you'll help me. No questions asked. That sounded vaguely ominous, like something from a crime movie. Lisa hesitated. That's a pretty open-ended deal. How do I know you won't ask me to do something illegal or dangerous? You don't, he said simply. But you also don't have a lot of options right now, do you? He was right, and they both knew it. Lisa chewed on her bottom lip, weighing her choices. Walk into that restaurant alone and face the humiliation, or accept help from a stranger with mysterious conditions. Both options were terrible, but one was slightly less terrible than the other. Okay, she finally said. Deal, but nothing illegal, and nothing that would hurt anyone. Fair enough. He extended his hand. I'm Daniel. She shook his hand, noting how firm and confident his grip was. Lisa, thank you. Seriously, thank you so much. You have no idea how much this means to me. I'm starting to get an idea, Daniel said dryly. So what's our story? How did we meet? Lisa's eyes widened. She hadn't thought that far ahead. Oh God, we need a backstory. Her mind went blank with panic. Relax, Daniel said, his tone surprisingly gentle. How about we keep it simple? We met at a coffee shop 3 months ago. You spilled your latte on my laptop. Why would you date someone who spilled coffee on your laptop? Because you were so apologetic and charming that I asked you out while you were trying to clean it up, see? Simple. Slightly embarrassing for you, which makes it believable and romantic enough to satisfy your family. Lisa stared at him. You're really good at this. Have you done this before? First time, Daniel said. But I'm good at thinking on my feet. Now what do I need to know about your family? They spent the next few minutes standing outside the restaurant, while Lisa gave him a rapid-fire briefing. Her father was a retired lawyer who liked talking about politics and golf. Her mother was a teacher who would ask too many personal questions. Her older sister, Rachel, was a doctor who'd always been the perfect daughter. And tonight she was getting engaged to her perfect boyfriend who was also a doctor. There would be aunts and uncles and cousins, all of whom would be judging whether Lisa had finally gotten her life together. What do you do for work? Daniel asked. I'm a marketing coordinator at Sterling Agency, Lisa said. It's not fancy, but I like it. What about you? What should I tell people you do? Daniel paused and something flickered across his face too quickly for her to read. Keep it vague. Tell them I work in technology and business development. If anyone asks specifics, change the subject. Mysterious. I like it, Lisa said, though she wondered why he was being so careful about his job. Maybe he was between positions or something. She decided not to push it. Anything else I should know about you? I'm 32. I don't have any siblings. I like reading and running. I'm allergic to shellfish, so if anyone offers me shrimp, I'll have to decline. That's oddly specific. I learned the hard way to always mention that up front, Daniel said. The hint of a smile returned. Ready to do this? Lisa took a deep breath and nodded. As ready as I'll ever be, just thank you again. I know this is weird. It's definitely weird, Daniel agreed. But it's also the most interesting thing I've done this month. Let's go before you lose your nerve. He offered her his arm, and after a moment's hesitation, Lisa took it. His arm was solid and steady under her hand, and somehow that small physical contact made her feel less like she was about to face a firing squad. They walked toward the restaurant entrance together, and Lisa tried to imagine what her family would think when they saw her with this handsome, confident stranger. As they reached the door, Daniel leaned down slightly and spoke quietly near her ear. Smile. Look like you're happy to be with me. Lisa looked up at him and found that smiling wasn't actually that hard. Despite the insanity of the situation, despite the fact that she'd basically blackmailed a stranger into being her fake boyfriend, she felt a tiny spark of something that might have been hope. Maybe, just maybe, she could pull this off. Daniel reached for the door handle and Lisa squeezed his arm once. Here goes nothing, she whispered. Here goes everything, Daniel corrected her softly. Then he pulled open the door, and they stepped inside together into the warmth and noise of the restaurant where her entire family was waiting. The restaurant was exactly as fancy as Lisa had feared. Soft classical music played in the background. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and every table was decorated with white roses and candlelight. Her family had rented out a private section in the back, and as soon as she and Daniel walked in, her mother spotted them. "Lisa, there you are." Her mom rushed over, her eyes immediately locking onto Daniel with barely disguised curiosity. "And this must be the famous boyfriend we've been hearing so much about." Lisa felt Daniel's posture shift slightly beside her, his shoulders straightening as he turned on what she could only describe as charm mode. He smiled warmly and extended his hand to her mother. "Mrs. Chen, it's wonderful to finally meet you. Lisa talks about you all the time." His voice was smooth and genuine, like he'd actually been looking forward to this moment. Her mother's face lit up as she shook his hand. "Please call me Margaret. And I have to say, Lisa didn't mention how handsome you were." She shot Lisa a knowing look that made her want to disappear into the floor. "Mom," Lisa groaned, feeling her cheeks heat up. Daniel laughed softly, and the sound was so natural that Lisa almost forgot this was all fake. "She's too kind. I'm Daniel, and I have to say, now I know where Lisa gets her beauty from." Lisa watched in amazement as her mother actually giggled. Her mother, the woman who prided herself on being practical and no-nonsense, was giggling like a teenager. What had she gotten herself into? "Oh, you're a charmer, aren't you?" Her mother linked her arm through Daniel's and started leading them toward the family section. Come. Everyone is dying to meet you. Lisa has been so secretive about you." As they walked through the restaurant, Lisa caught Daniel's eye. He gave her a subtle wink that somehow managed to calm her racing heart. He was handling this way better than she could have hoped. Maybe this wouldn't be a complete disaster after all. The private section was filled with at least 30 people, all dressed in their best clothes, all turning to look as Lisa and Daniel entered. Her sister Rachel stood near the center with her boyfriend Kevin, both of them looking like they'd stepped out of a magazine. Rachel's smile was bright and perfect, but Lisa knew her well enough to see the competitive gleam in her eyes. "Everyone, this is Daniel," her mother announced proudly, like she was presenting a prize. "Lisa's boyfriend." The room erupted in greetings and curious murmurs. Lisa felt Daniel's hand settle on the small of her back, a gentle touch that felt surprisingly reassuring. They moved through the crowd, shaking hands and making small talk. Daniel remembered every detail she'd told him, asking her father about his golf game, complimenting her aunt's dress, and somehow making each person feel like they had his complete attention. Her father approached them, his expression stern. Robert Chen was a man who didn't trust easily, and Lisa had always found him the hardest to impress. "So you're the mysterious Daniel," he said, his handshake firm and testing. "Lisa tells us you work in technology." "That's right, sir," Daniel replied, meeting her father's grip with equal strength. "Business development and strategic investments. It's a challenging field, but rewarding." "Investments, Her father's eyes narrowed slightly. "What's your take on the current market volatility?" Lisa tensed. Her father loved testing people with random questions about business and politics. Most of her previous boyfriends had failed this test miserably, but Daniel didn't miss a beat. "Honestly, sir, I think volatility creates opportunity if you're patient and strategic. The key is not to panic when everyone else is panicking. Some of the best investments I've made were during uncertain times." He paused, then added with a slight smile, "Though I have to admit, the best decision I've made recently had nothing to do with the stock market. It was asking your daughter out after she spilled coffee all over my laptop." Her father's stern expression cracked, and he actually laughed. Lisa felt her jaw drop slightly. Her father never laughed at boyfriend jokes, never. "Coffee on the laptop? That's how you two met?" Her father looked at Lisa with amusement. "That sounds like something you would do, sweetheart." "Thanks, Dad," Lisa said dryly, though she was secretly relieved. If Daniel had won over her father, the hardest part might be over. They found their assigned seats at one of the main tables, right next to Rachel and Kevin. Her sister leaned over immediately, her smile sweet but her eyes calculating. "Daniel, it's so nice to finally meet you," Rachel said. "Lisa has been keeping you all to herself. We were starting to think you didn't exist." "Rachel," Lisa warned, but Daniel just smiled. "I've been swamped with work lately," he said easily, "but I wouldn't miss tonight for anything. Congratulations on your engagement, by the way. Lisa tells me you and Kevin are perfect for each other." Kevin, who'd been quiet until now, perked up. Thanks, man. Yeah, when you know, right? How long have you and Lisa been together? About 3 months, Daniel said, reaching over to take Lisa's hand on the table. His hand was warm and his grip was confident, and Lisa tried not to think about how nice it felt. Best 3 months of my life, honestly. Lisa's heart did a weird flutter thing that she told herself was just anxiety. He was good at this, too good. It almost felt real. 3 months and she's already bringing you to family events? Rachel's eyebrow arched. That's pretty serious. Lisa usually keeps her boyfriends hidden for at least 6 months. Remember that guy, what was his name? The one who… Rachel, don't! Lisa cut her off, knowing exactly which embarrassing story her sister was about to tell. Daniel squeezed her hand gently. Everyone has a past, he said calmly. I'm just grateful I'm part of her present. The way he said it, so sincere and protective, made something warm spread through Lisa's chest. Rachel looked slightly deflated, and Lisa had to resist the urge to kiss Daniel right there. Fake boyfriend or not, he was already better than any real boyfriend she'd ever had. Dinner was served, and Daniel navigated the meal with impressive grace. He knew which fork to use, made intelligent conversation with everyone at the table, and somehow managed to make Lisa feel included in every discussion. When her aunt asked nosy questions about their future plans, Daniel deflected smoothly. When her cousin made an inappropriate joke, Daniel changed the subject before Lisa had to feel uncomfortable. He was like a professional buffer between her and all the family dynamics she usually had to deal with alone. So, Daniel, her Uncle Victor said loudly from across the table, his third glass of wine clearly hitting him. What are your intentions with our Lisa? You going to make an honest woman out of her? The table went quiet and Lisa wanted to crawl under it. Uncle Victor, that's not… It's okay, Daniel said, his thumb stroking across her knuckles in a way that felt far too intimate for someone she'd met an hour ago. He looked at her, not her uncle, when he answered, I think it's too early to talk about specifics, but I can tell you that I don't take relationships lightly. When I commit to something or someone, I'm all in. The way he looked at her when he said it made Lisa forget how to breathe for a second. His gray eyes held hers, and there was something in them that seemed almost real. She reminded herself this was an act. He was just playing a role. But it didn't feel like acting. Good answer, her father said approvingly from down the table. Lisa deserves someone who's serious about her. The conversation moved on, but Lisa was hyper-aware of Daniel's hand still holding hers, his thumb still making those small circles on her skin. She leaned closer to him and whispered, You're really good at this. Thank you. He leaned in too, his lips close to her ear. You're welcome. Though I have to say, your family isn't as scary as you made them sound. Just wait, Lisa muttered. The night is still young. As if on cue, the lights dimmed and music started playing. Kevin stood up and pulled Rachel to the small dance floor area, and other couples began joining them. Lisa's mother appeared beside their table with an encouraging smile. You two should dance, she said. It's a party after all. Lisa felt panic rising in her chest. Dancing meant being close, really close. Dancing meant pretending to be comfortable in Daniel's arms when she'd just met him. But before she could come up with an excuse, Daniel was standing and offering her his hand. Shall we? He asked, and there was something gentle in his expression that made her trust him. She took his hand and let him lead her to the dance floor. The song was slow and romantic, the kind that made couples sway together in the dim light. Daniel's arm slid around her waist, pulling her closer, while his other hand held hers. Lisa placed her free hand on his shoulder, trying to ignore how solid and warm he felt. Relax, he murmured. You're stiff as a board. Sorry, she whispered back. I'm not used to slow dancing with strangers who are pretending to be my boyfriend in front of my entire family. It's a pretty specific situation. She felt his quiet laugh more than heard it, his chest moving against hers. Fair point. But for what it's worth, you're doing great. Your family loves you, you know. They're not judging you as harshly as you think. Lisa looked up at him, surprised. How would you know that? Because I've been watching them watch you all night. Your mom keeps smiling every time she looks at you. Your dad relaxed the moment he saw you happy. Even your sister, as competitive as she is, seems genuinely glad you're here. He paused. The only one being hard on you is you. The observation hit her harder than she expected. She blinked rapidly, trying not to get emotional in the middle of the dance floor. You got all that from one dinner? I'm observant, Daniel said simply. It's part of my job. Right, your mysterious technology job that you won't tell anyone about, Lisa said, trying to lighten the moment. Are you secretly a spy or something? Nothing that exciting, he said, and something flickered across his face again. I'd just prefer to keep my professional and personal life separate. Before Lisa could ask what he meant, her sister and Kevin danced closer to them. Rachel was smiling, but there was curiosity in her eyes. You two look good together, Rachel said. Very natural. Almost like you've been dancing together for years instead of months. Lisa felt Daniel's hand tighten slightly on her waist. A warning, perhaps. Some people just fit, he said smoothly. I got lucky. The song ended and another one started, this time more upbeat. People clapped and laughed, and the mood shifted from romantic to celebratory. Daniel and Lisa made their way back to the table, and Lisa realized she was actually having a good time. The constant anxiety she usually felt at family gatherings had faded into the background. With Daniel beside her, she felt protected somehow, like she had an ally in enemy territory. The evening continued with toasts and cake and more dancing. Daniel never left her side, playing the devoted boyfriend so convincingly that Lisa sometimes forgot it wasn't real. He laughed at her jokes, whispered comments that made her laugh, and treated her with a kindness that felt genuine. When her cousin asked to take a photo of them, Daniel pulled her close and smiled for the camera like it was the most natural thing in the world. As the party started winding down, her mother pulled Lisa aside while Daniel was talking with her father about something business-related. Sweetheart, I have to say I'm impressed, her mother said, squeezing her hand. Daniel is wonderful. He's mature, successful, respectful in the way he looks at you. She smiled knowingly. That's the look of a man who's serious. Lisa felt guilt twist in her stomach. Mom, it's still early. Don't start planning anything. I'm not planning anything, her mother protested, though her eyes said otherwise. I'm just happy to see you happy. You've been through some rough patches with relationships, but this one feels different. Don't you think? Lisa glanced over at Daniel, who was now laughing at something her father said, looking completely at ease. Yeah, she said softly and realized with a strange ache that she meant it. It does feel different. When the party finally ended and they said their goodbyes, her family hugged Daniel like he was already part of the clan. Her mother made him promise to come to Sunday dinner. Her father shook his hand with genuine respect. Even Rachel seemed begrudgingly impressed. Finally, they were outside in the cool night air again, standing by the valet station. Lisa turned to Daniel, feeling the weight of the evening settling over her. I don't even know how to thank you properly, she said. You were amazing. Like seriously amazing. My family loved you. Daniel shrugged, his expression unreadable in the dim light. It wasn't that hard. You have a good family. They just want you to be happy. Still, you went above and beyond. The dancing, the conversations, the way you handled my uncle's drunk questions. She laughed, feeling lighter than she had in months. You should do this professionally. I don't think there's much of a market for fake boyfriends, Daniel said, but he was smiling. Though tonight was more enjoyable than I expected. The valet brought his car around and reality started to creep back in. This was it. The night was over. Daniel would drive away, and she'd probably never see him again except maybe passing on the street somewhere. The thought made her feel unexpectedly sad. So, she said awkwardly, I guess this is goodbye? And thank you again. Seriously, you saved my life tonight. Daniel looked at her for a long moment, his gray eyes thoughtful. Lisa, about that favor you owe me. Her stomach dropped. She'd almost forgotten about their deal. Oh, right, what do you need? He pulled out his wallet and extracted a business card, handing it to her. Nothing right now. But when I do need something, I'll be in touch. Don't lose that. Lisa took the card and looked down at it under the streetlight. Her eyes widened as she read the name printed in elegant letters. Daniel Cross, CEO, Cross Enterprises. She looked up at him in shock. Wait, Cross Enterprises? The Cross Enterprises? The tech company that's been in the news for that massive merger? Daniel's smile was slightly sheepish. I did say I worked in technology and business development. That's like saying the ocean is a little bit wet, Lisa said, her voice rising. You're a CEO, an actual CEO, of a multi-million-dollar company, and I just made you pretend to be my boyfriend at my sister's engagement party. Technically, you asked a stranger on the street, Daniel corrected. You didn't know who I was. Lisa covered her face with her hands. Oh my God, This is so embarrassing. You must think I'm insane. I think you're brave, Daniel said quietly. She lowered her hands and found him watching her with something that looked like respect. Not many people would have the courage to ask for help like that. Most people would rather suffer alone than risk looking vulnerable. Brave or desperate, Lisa muttered. Maybe both. He opened his car door, then paused. For what it's worth, tonight reminded me that not everything has to be about business and strategy. Sometimes it's nice to just be a person at a party, so thank you for that. Before Lisa could respond, he got in his car and drove away, leaving her standing on the sidewalk holding his business card and wondering what on earth had just happened. She looked down at the card again, running her thumb over the embossed letters. Daniel Cross, CEO, and apparently the best fake boyfriend in the entire city. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. I really like him, honey. Don't let this one get away. Lisa laughed, a slightly hysterical sound in the quiet night. If only her mother knew the truth. This wasn't the beginning of a beautiful relationship. It was just one strange, perfect night that was now over. She slipped the business card into her purse and started walking to her car, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in her chest that felt suspiciously like disappointment. Monday morning hit Lisa like a freight train. She'd spent the entire weekend fielding texts and calls from family members gushing about Daniel. Her mother had already sent 3 different Sunday dinner menu options for when he came over. Her aunt had forwarded an article about successful couples in business. Even her sister had texted, albeit reluctantly, saying that Daniel seemed surprisingly decent. The worst part was lying to all of them. Every text she sent back felt like another brick in a wall of deception she'd eventually have to tear down. But how could she tell them the truth now? That the perfect boyfriend they'd all fallen in love with was actually a stranger she'd bribed outside a restaurant? They'd never let her live it down. She pushed through the glass doors of Sterling Marketing Agency at 8:45, her usual coffee in hand, trying to focus on the week ahead. Her boss, Patricia, had been hyping up this Monday morning meeting for 2 weeks. Apparently, they were pitching to a potential client who could change the entire trajectory of their small agency. No pressure or anything. Lisa settled at her desk and opened her laptop, scrolling through the briefing documents Patricia had sent over the weekend. The client was some tech company looking to rebrand their public image. Pretty standard stuff. Except Patricia had mentioned the budget was substantial and the client was notoriously selective. Great. Just what Lisa needed, more pressure. Her coworker Jake rolled his chair over to her desk, his eyes gleaming with the gossip-hungry look he always got on Monday mornings. So how was the party? Did your boyfriend finally meet the family? Lisa felt her stomach twist. She'd mentioned to a few people at work that she was bringing someone to her sister's engagement party, mostly to avoid the pitying looks when they asked about her personal life. Yeah, it went fine. Fine? Come on, give me details. What did they think? Did your sister hate him out of jealousy? Did your dad do the intimidating interrogation thing? Jake, I really need to prep for this meeting, which doesn't start for another hour, he pointed out. Spill. Lisa sighed, knowing he wouldn't give up. They loved him, okay? He was charming and perfect, and my mom is already planning our wedding even though we've only been dating for 3 months. 3 months? I thought you said it was a new thing. 3 months is new, Lisa said quickly, realizing she needed to keep her story straight. The last thing she needed was her work life and her personal life colliding in a mess of contradictions. Patricia's voice cut through the office chatter. Morning, team. Conference room in 10 minutes. Our potential client just arrived early, so let's look sharp. Everyone scattered to grab their materials and check their appearance. Lisa smoothed down her gray blazer and grabbed her tablet, following her coworkers toward the conference room. She could see through the glass walls that someone was already seated inside, but their back was to the door. Patricia was practically vibrating with nervous energy as she gathered everyone in the hallway. Okay, people. Daniel Cross is the CEO of Cross Enterprises. He's young, he's brilliant, and he's notoriously hard to impress. This account could put us on the map, so bring your A game. Lisa, you're lead on the creative presentation. Don't mess this up. Lisa nodded, her mind already running through her pitch points. Wait. She froze mid-step. Did you say Daniel Cross? Yes, why? Do you know him? Before Lisa could answer, Patricia was already opening the conference room door and ushering everyone inside with bright, professional smiles. Lisa felt like she was moving through water as she followed, her heart pounding in her ears. The man sitting at the head of the table turned around, and Lisa's worst nightmare came true. Daniel Cross, her fake boyfriend, the stranger from the restaurant, the CEO who'd saved her from humiliation, was sitting in her office conference room, looking at her with those intense gray eyes. For a split second, something flickered across his face. Surprise? Amusement? But it vanished so quickly Lisa thought she might have imagined it. His expression shifted into polite professionalism as he stood to greet the team. "Good morning," he said, his voice carrying that same confident tone that had charmed her entire family. "Thank you all for meeting with me." Patricia began introductions, going around the table. When she got to Lisa, she beamed proudly. "And this is Lisa Chen, our senior marketing coordinator and the creative lead on your account. She's one of our best." Daniel extended his hand and Lisa forced herself to shake it, trying to ignore how his touch sent her right back to the dance floor, to his hand on her waist, to the way he'd looked at her like she was someone worth protecting. "Ms. Chen," he said formally, "I look forward to seeing your ideas." "Mr. Cross," Lisa managed, her voice surprisingly steady. "We've prepared a comprehensive campaign strategy for you." His lips twitched slightly like he was holding back a smile. Was he enjoying this? Of course he was. He probably thought this was hilarious. The meeting began, and Lisa went into autopilot, presenting the mock-ups and strategies her team had developed. But she was hyper-aware of Daniel's presence, of the way he listened intently, occasionally jotting down notes, his expression giving nothing away. This was a completely different person from the man who'd twirled her around the dance floor and made her father laugh. This Daniel was all business, sharp and assessing. When she finished her presentation, he leaned back in his chair, his fingers steepled under his chin. "Interesting approach," he said, "but I'm not convinced you understand our brand identity. Cross Enterprises isn't just another tech company. We're innovators, disruptors. This campaign feels safe." Lisa felt a flash of irritation cut through her anxiety. Safe? She'd spent 3 weekends working on this pitch. "With respect, Mr. Cross, safe isn't the same as strategic. Your company has been in the news recently for aggressive expansion. Our research shows that your public perception is becoming polarized. This campaign is designed to humanize your brand, to remind people that innovation serves people, not just profits." Something shifted in his expression. He sat forward, his attention completely focused on her now. "Go on. You don't need to be louder or flashier. You need to be relatable. The mock-ups I showed emphasize your company's impact on everyday life, on real people solving real problems. That's not safe. That's smart." The room was silent. Patricia looked like she might pass out from the tension. Jake was staring at Lisa like she'd grown a second head. You didn't challenge potential clients, especially not ones as important as Daniel Cross. But Daniel was smiling now, a real smile that reached his eyes. "You're right," he said simply. "I was testing you. Too many agencies just agree with everything I say. I need a team that will push back when I'm wrong." He looked at Patricia. "I want to move forward with Sterling Agency, but I have one condition." "Anything," Patricia said quickly. "I want Ms. Chen as the primary contact on my account. All communications, all strategy sessions, all decisions go through her." Lisa's jaw nearly hit the table. "Mr. Cross, I don't think— Are you not qualified?" he asked, his tone challenging. "I'm qualified," Lisa said, lifting her chin. "I just want to make sure you're making this decision based on merit, not—" She trailed off, unable to finish that sentence in front of her boss and coworkers. "Not what?" Daniel's expression was innocent, but his eyes were dancing with amusement. He knew exactly what she was implying. "Nothing," Lisa said through gritted teeth. "I'd be happy to be your primary contact." "Excellent." Daniel stood, signaling the meeting was over. "My assistant will send over the contract details. Ms. Chen, I'd like to schedule a one-on-one meeting later this week to discuss the campaign timeline. Are you available Thursday afternoon?" It wasn't really a question. Of course. After Daniel left, the office erupted. Patricia was ecstatic, already talking about the bonus budget and the new clients this would bring in. Jake and the other coordinators were congratulating Lisa, asking her how she'd had the guts to challenge a CEO. Lisa smiled and nodded and tried to act normal, but inside she was spiraling. She waited until lunch break, then grabbed her phone and stepped outside, Her hands were shaking as she pulled up Daniel's contact information from the business card and typed out a text. "We need to talk." That was not okay. The response came back almost immediately. "I agree. Dinner tonight? I'll send a car to pick you up at 7. I can drive myself, and this isn't a date, never said it was. But we do need to talk, and we might as well eat while we do it. Unless you'd prefer to discuss this in your office where everyone can hear." He had a point. Lisa typed back the address of her apartment and spent the rest of the workday trying to focus, while her mind raced with 1,000 questions and anxieties. At 7 sharp, a sleek black car pulled up outside her building. The driver opened the door for her without a word, and Lisa slid into the back seat, feeling like she'd fallen into some kind of alternate reality where she was important enough for car services and private dinners with CEOs. The restaurant was even fancier than the one where her sister's party had been held. The host led her to a private table in the back corner where Daniel was already waiting, looking frustratingly calm and put together in a dark blue suit. "Before you say anything," he started as she sat down, "I didn't know you worked at Sterling Agency." "Convenient," Lisa said, not bothering to hide her skepticism. "It's true. I've been looking for a marketing agency for months. Sterling was on my short list before I ever met you. The timing is coincidental, not calculated." Lisa wanted to believe him, but it seemed too perfect. "And you just happen to need the exact type of service my company provides? Right after I just happened to ask you to be my fake boyfriend?" "The world is smaller than you think," Daniel said calmly, "especially in business circles. This is an awkward situation, I agree, but it's not a conspiracy." The waiter came to take their order, and they both went silent until he left. Lisa took a sip of water, trying to organize her thoughts. "Why did you request me specifically?" she finally asked. "You put me in an impossible position. Now everyone at work is going to be watching everything I do, judging whether I actually earned this account or if there's something else going on." "You earned it," Daniel said firmly. "Your presentation was good. Better than good, actually. And you were the only person in that room brave enough to tell me I was wrong. That's exactly the kind of person I need working on my account. Or maybe you just want to keep me close because I owe you a favor, and this is how you plan to collect." Daniel tilted his head, studying her. "Is that really what you think of me? That I'd manipulate a professional situation for personal leverage?" Lisa deflated slightly. No, she didn't really think that. The Daniel she'd spent an evening with had been kind and protective, had expected nothing in return for his help except a vague future favor. But this situation was messing with her head. "I don't know what to think," she admitted. "This whole thing is so weird. A week ago you were a stranger. Then you were my fake boyfriend. Now you're my client. How am I supposed to handle this?" "Professionally," Daniel said. "When we're working, I'm your client and you're my marketing coordinator. What happened at your sister's party stays separate. But it's not separate, is it? My coworkers are going to ask questions. My family is going to ask about you. My mother literally wants you to come to Sunday dinner. How do I keep those worlds from colliding?" Daniel was quiet for a moment, his fingers drumming lightly on the table. "What did you tell your family about what I do?" "Just that you work in technology. They don't know you're a CEO or that your company is worth millions. I kept it vague like you asked." "Good, keep it that way." He leaned forward slightly. "Here's what I suggest. We maintain the appearance of dating for now. It solves your family problem, and honestly, it might help with the professional optics too. If people think we're together, they're less likely to question why I specifically requested you." Lisa stared at him. "You want to keep pretending to date? Are you serious?" "Why not? It's mutually beneficial. You don't have to confess to your family that you lied, and I get to work with a talented marketing coordinator without office gossip derailing the project." "This is insane." "Probably," Daniel agreed. "But we're already in the middle of it. Might as well see it through." The waiter brought their food and they ate in silence for a few minutes. Lisa's mind was spinning. Part of her wanted to refuse, to come clean to everyone and deal with the consequences. But another part, a larger part than she wanted to admit, was tempted by his offer. "What happens when the campaign is over?" she finally asked. "Do we just stage a breakup?" "We'll figure it out when we get there," Daniel said. "For now, let's just focus on making this campaign successful and keeping your mother from planning a wedding." Despite everything, Lisa laughed. "You did make quite an impression on her. She's a lovely woman. Your whole family is." His expression softened. "I meant what I said at the party. That night reminded me that there's more to life than board meetings and profit margins. It was nice to just be a person for a few hours. There was something lonely in his voice that made Lisa's heart twist. She thought about what it must be like to be Daniel Cross. Successful, wealthy, powerful, but maybe also isolated. How many people in his life saw him as a person instead of a CEO or a business opportunity? Okay, she heard herself say. We'll keep up the act for now. But we need rules. Fair enough. What kind of rules? Lisa thought for a moment. No lying to each other. Whatever this is, we're honest about it between us. And no using this situation to manipulate each other professionally. If you have problems with my work, you tell me directly. Agreed. And you do the same. If something I'm asking for doesn't work creatively, you push back like you did in that meeting today. Deal. Lisa extended her hand across the table, and Daniel shook it with a slight smile. Partners in crime, he said. Partners in a very elaborate, probably terrible idea, Lisa corrected. As they finished dinner and talked about the campaign timeline, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that she was standing at the edge of something dangerous. This fake relationship had started as a desperate solution to one problem, but now it was growing into something more complicated. And the worst part? She was starting to enjoy Daniel's company a little too much. When the car dropped her back at her apartment, she sat in her living room staring at nothing, trying to process everything. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. Invite Daniel to Sunday dinner. I'm making pot roast. Lisa looked at the message for a long moment, then typed back, I'll ask him. She was in too deep now. All she could do was hope that when this eventually came crashing down, she'd still have a job, a family who spoke to her, and maybe a small shred of dignity intact. Her phone buzzed again, this time from Daniel. Your mother already texted me directly. Apparently she got my number from you? I said yes to Sunday dinner. Hope that's okay. Lisa groaned and flopped back on her couch. Her mother had gotten his number? When had that happened? Then she remembered the photos from the party. Her mother must have asked for his contact to send them. This fake relationship was getting more real by the minute. And Lisa wasn't sure if that terrified her or thrilled her. Maybe both. The next 3 weeks were the strangest of Lisa's life. By day, she was Daniel's marketing coordinator, sitting across conference tables from him, debating campaign strategies and discussing target demographics. By evening and on weekends, she was his girlfriend, attending family dinners and dodging her mother's increasingly pointed questions about their future. The lines were starting to blur in ways that made Lisa uncomfortable. Or maybe it was worse than uncomfortable. Maybe the real problem was that she was starting to like the blurring. Thursday afternoon, Lisa sat in Daniel's office on the 20th floor of Cross Enterprises, reviewing the latest campaign mock-ups on her laptop. The view from his window was incredible, overlooking the entire downtown area. She'd been coming here twice a week for meetings, and she still wasn't used to the luxury of it all. The expensive furniture, the ambient lighting, the way his assistant brought them coffee in actual china cups instead of paper. What do you think about pushing the launch date back 2 weeks? Daniel asked, scrolling through something on his tablet. I want to make sure we're not rushing the execution. Lisa glanced up from her screen. He'd loosened his tie and rolled up his sleeves, and there was a tiredness around his eyes that she'd started to notice lately. He worked too much. She knew because she'd been working too much too, trying to make sure this campaign was perfect. 2 weeks gives us more time for quality control, she said. But it also means 2 more weeks of anticipation building. There's a risk of losing momentum. Always the strategic thinker, Daniel said with a slight smile. What's your gut say? My gut says you look exhausted and you're probably not making the best decisions right now. The words came out before Lisa could stop them, crossing the professional line they'd been trying so hard to maintain. Daniel looked up, surprised. Then he laughed, a real laugh that made him look younger. Fair assessment. I haven't slept more than 5 hours a night in 2 weeks. That's not healthy, says the woman who sent me revised graphics at 2 in the morning last Tuesday. Lisa felt her cheeks warm. That was different. I was on a creative role. And I'm on a business role, Daniel countered. We're both workaholics, Lisa. Let's not pretend otherwise. There was something intimate about the way he said her name, dropping the formal Ms. Chen he used in front of other people. They'd fallen into this pattern, professional in public, slightly more real in private. It was dangerous territory. Her phone buzzed with a text from her sister. Mom wants to know if Daniel is coming to her birthday dinner next week. Please say yes. She talks about him constantly and it's annoying. Lisa sighed and showed Daniel the message. Welcome to my life. You've officially become my mother's favorite topic of conversation. Daniel leaned back in his chair, reading the text with an amused expression. Your mom's birthday? I should probably get her a gift. You don't have to do that. This whole thing is already complicated enough. I want to, he said simply. She's been nothing but kind to me. What does she like? Lisa felt that dangerous warmth in her chest again. The fake boyfriend who bought gifts for her mother was getting a little too convincing. She loves gardening. Anything with flowers or plants. Noted. Daniel made a note on his phone, then looked back at her. Speaking of complicated, we should probably talk about the charity gala next weekend. Lisa had been trying not to think about the gala. Daniel had mentioned it casually last week. Some big event his company was sponsoring. Lots of important people. Black tie required. He'd asked if she'd be his date, and she'd said yes without really considering what that meant. What about it? She asked carefully. It's going to be different from your sister's engagement party. There will be business partners, investors, media, people who know me professionally. He paused, choosing his words carefully. If we're going to do this, we need to be convincing. Really convincing? As opposed to the fake convincing we've been doing? You know what I mean. At family dinners, we can be casual, comfortable, but at this event, we'll be under scrutiny. People will be watching, analyzing, looking for weaknesses. The business world can be brutal about personal relationships. Lisa felt anxiety creep up her spine. Are you saying I'm not going to fit in? I'm saying you'll fit in perfectly, but you need to be prepared for the attention. Daniel's expression softened. I don't want to throw you into that environment without warning. These events can be overwhelming even for people used to them. So what do I need to know? They spent the next hour going over the guest list and the dynamics Lisa needed to understand. There was Richard Chen, a major investor who asked inappropriate questions. There was Jennifer Walsh, a competitor who would definitely try to dig for information about cross-enterprises strategies. There was a whole ecosystem of power players and social climbers that Lisa had never really thought about before. This is a lot, Lisa said finally, feeling her head spin. You'll be fine, Daniel assured her. Just stay close to me, and if anyone makes you uncomfortable, we'll extract ourselves. Think of it like the family dinner, but with better wine and worse conversations. Lisa laughed despite her nerves. You have such a way with words. It's a gift. He glanced at his watch and frowned. I have a board meeting in 10 minutes. Are we good here? Yeah, we're good. Lisa started packing up her laptop. As she reached the door, Daniel called her name. Lisa? She turned back. He was standing by his desk, hands in his pockets, looking uncharacteristically uncertain. Thank you, he said quietly, for going along with all of this. I know it's asking a lot. You're welcome, she said, equally quiet, though I think we're past the point of knowing who's helping who anymore. His smile was small but genuine. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Lisa thought about that conversation all the way home. The boundaries of their arrangement were definitely getting fuzzy. They'd started as strangers with a transactional agreement, but now there were moments like the one in his office where it felt like something real was developing. Something neither of them had planned for. Sunday dinner at her parents' house confirmed her suspicions. Daniel arrived with a beautiful orchid arrangement for her mother, who practically cried with delight. He helped her father set up the new grill on the back patio. He played cards with her grandmother and let the